Whether you're wishing upon a star, partying under the sea, exploring a whole new world, letting it go, or feeling the love tonight, it's an accepted absolute truth that Disney films are pure magic. And that's where our list of the 10 best Disney animated movies comes in. Beasts and Beauties, Ladies and Tramps, Princesses and Frogs. Walt Disney Animation Studios has been creating sublime groundbreaking entertainment for almost 100 years, and its feature films, starting with 1937's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, have cemented a cinematic legacy. Welcome to World Top Record Channel. Today, we're gonna take a look at the top 10 best Disney movies of all time Part 2. Before we begin, if you like the video, please be sure to subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. After all these years, Disney movies remain the gold standard in family entertainment. Starting from the back of a realty office in Hollywood back in 1928, Disney is now a brand worth billions of dollars. But it's not just money. Disney's cultural influence is worldwide and manages to stay relevant with each subsequent generation. There's no underestimating the power of nostalgia. Chances are if someone grew up liking Disney movies, they're probably a fan for life. Walt Disney pioneered the idea of feature-length animated movies, an idea considered ridiculous at the time. They would be too expensive to make, and what self-respecting adult would pay money to see a full-length animated film? Turns out everyone wanted to, especially those with kids. At the time, there was no such thing as a full production studio dedicated to animated films. So with the profits of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Walt Disney built one. From there, it was only a short period of time before Disney branched out into producing live-action films, and before anyone knew it, Disney dominated the family entertainment market. Since then, Disney has expanded its intellectual properties to include Marvel, Star Wars, ABC, and 20th Century Fox. This makes Disney virtually unstoppable. Some meme artists have even depicted Mickey Mouse as Thanos, with its individual properties the different gems in the Infinity Gauntlet. But there were a few hiccups along the way. Disney has had tremendous success with its films, but people tend to forget that even the mighty occasionally fall. Here are the 10 best Disney movies according to the ratings on Rotten Tomatoes Part 2. Number 11, The Jungle Book. The last film Walt Disney himself worked on, 1967's The Jungle Book, inspired by Rudyard Kipling's book of the same name, is a lively and hilarious romp following a 10-year-old boy named Mowgli. Raised in the Indian jungle by wolves, he navigates through an adventure with panthers, pythons, tigers, and a carefree bear named Baloo. With delightful tunes by Robert and Richard Sherman, Mary Poppins, The Enchanted Tiki Room, and a sublime story that we'd see echoed a bit later on in both The Lion King and Tarzan, Hakuna Matata owes a great deal to bare necessities. The Jungle Book emits a funky, trippy vibe that's helped it remain a family favorite for 50 years, even more so than some of Disney's more famous prestige projects. It's a blessed blue sky classic. Number 12, Bambi. Bambi. It's strange that such a sweet-sounding, playful work should be synonymous with childhood trauma. The 1942 film's most memorable scene sees Bambi's mother murdered by man and the young fawn desperately searching for her in the snow. It's the sort of thing that stays with you. But Bambi is more than just that scene. It's a tale about the loss of innocence, but also one about growing up, accepting responsibilities, and finding out that while loved ones can't be replaced, you can build a family of your own. And it's not all somber either. In Thumper, Disney created one of its best, most beloved comic characters. Unlike Disney's other movies of the era, Bambi doesn't feature magic or overly fantastical elements. The animation is delicate, more fable-like in quality, and all the more potent and emotional for it. Number 13, Pinocchio. Disney's defining animated feature, based on Italian children's novel The Adventures of Pinocchio by Carlo Collodi, was hailed by critics as a brilliant and masterful follow-up to Snow White. Audiences disagreed, however, and the studio's second outing was nothing short of a box office disaster when it was released in 1940. Pinocchio would get re-released a few years later and recoup most of its losses, only then becoming the pop culture phenomenon we know it as today. The classic story of a wooden puppet boy named Pinocchio brought to life by a blue fairy, and out to earn permanent humanity by being brave, truthful, and unselfish, is largely considered to be the apex of animation, Disney or other. With smart-aleck silliness and sinister scariness, along with a nose that grows with each line and a singing conscience cricket named Jiminy, the Oscar-winning When You Wish Upon a Star is still the song most associated with Disney. Pinocchio is a beautifully crafted saga. Number 14, Dumbo. Despite World War II spelling out box office doom for most of Disney's films in the 40s, the classic Dumbo, from 1941, which was purposefully designed to be short and bare-bones simple, managed to be the most successful picture for the studio in that decade. At 64 minutes, Dumbo was a pleasant, straightforward alternative to the ambition of Fantasia from the previous year. Though modest in delivery, Dumbo, about a lowly circus elephant that's constantly and cruelly ridiculed for having comically oversized ears, stands as one of the most precious and endearing animated films of all time. With simpler animation than its predecessors, and watercolor backgrounds, Dumbo is a small story that delivers a giant-sized emotional punch, teaching us that while we all might yearn to be like everyone else, it's our differences that define us and make us special. Number 15, Robin Hood. Using amiable anthropomorphic animals to tell the legend of Robin Hood, this offbeat oddball gem from 1973 featured acclaimed folksy songs and a Butch and Sundance buddy movie tone that helped it become, at the time, Disney's highest-grossing film to date. Robin Hood takes some knocks because it features some recycled bits of animation and its low-key conventional charm is way different from the majesty showcased in other company classics, but sometimes simpler designs and humbler approaches make for the most beloved stories. Number 16, The Emperor's New Groove. More of an out-and-out comedy than most Disney offerings, and coming on the heels of Disney's 90s resurgence, 2000's The Emperor's New Groove was a slight detour from more traditional studio fare in favor of a slapstick-driven mismatched buddy adventure featuring a more markedly Chuck Jones cartoonish animation style. Featuring the voices of David Spade, John Goodman, and Patrick Warburton, New Groove is a redemption tale centered on an arrogant teenage Incan emperor named Kuzco who is transformed into a llama by his ex-advisor. The roller coaster production for the film, which began as a more mature and traditional Disney story called Kingdom of the Sun, featuring 6 songs by Sting, saw the entire project change packaging and switch tone after the box office disappointments of both Pocahontas and The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Though New Groove is purposefully less grand and epic than most of Disney's offerings, it's still a hearty and hip hero's journey filled with unabashed silliness and nonsense. Number 17, Tangled. This instant classic from 2010 featured Disney's charming take on the German fairy tale Rapunzel. With the company momentarily focused on gender-neutral titling, as we'd see again with 2013's Frozen, Tangled told the story of a young princess with magical long hair, voiced by Mandy Moore, who's held prisoner by a woman who uses the girl's innate powers to cheat death. With 3D art inspired by oil-on-canvas Rococo-style paintings, Tangled was a compelling and complex mix of adventure and romance that brought together both modern and classic elements of Disney. Tangled, while wildly loved by fans, also holds the strange distinction of being the most expensive animated feature of all time thanks to an extremely long development process as well as extensive testing done for the animation processes, as it was the company's first ever fully computer-animated film. Number 18, Tarzan. Disney's rollicking 1999 adaptation of Tarzan of the Apes by Edgar Rice Burroughs capped off the studio's 90s win streak with an animated feast of sweeping 3D backgrounds, using a then-new technique, called Deep Canvas, that allows CGI to resemble a traditional painting. With a revolutionary visual flow and style that pushed the envelope of the entire medium, and Academy Award-winning music from Phil Collins, You'll Be in My Heart took home Best Original Song that year. Tarzan is a spirited, thrilling spectacle featuring rich storytelling and colorfully conceived art that put a new special spin on the much-told tale of a young man raised by gorillas in the jungles of Africa. Number 19, 101 Dalmatians. One of the most witty and entertaining Disney films of all time, with one of the most memorable villains in cinema history, the quasi-musical 101 Dalmatians from 1961 gave audiences a scrappier, sketchier animation style, thanks to new Xerox technology, and a modest budget compared to predecessor Sleeping Beauty, coupled with a fun family adventure about a litter of Dalmatian puppies who are kidnapped by a wealthy, fashion-obsessed heiress who wants to use their fur to make into coats. It's the Betty Lou Gerson-voiced Cruella de Vil, and her renowned theme song, that steal the show. However, rumored to have been modeled after Zsa Zsa Gabor, Cruella's look, flair, and crazed cackle instantly infused her into the ranks of the most malicious movie evildoers of all time. Though not a plush spectacle, 101 Dalmatians runneth over with heart, humor, and dogmanity. Number 20, Sleeping Beauty. As the last of the classic animated fairy tales produced by Walt Disney himself, 1959's Sleeping Beauty was initially a disappointment at the box office, but has come to be recognized as one of the greatest and most beloved of Disney's golden era. This is the studio at its most iconic, with frolicking woodland creatures, a warbling princess, an evil sorceress and a handsome prince on a majestic steed. Filled with vibrant color, modern designs and music based on the Tchaikovsky ballet, it looks and sounds different than any of the films that came before. The meticulously hand-painted cells inspired by medieval art have a stylized look to them and a striking palette filled with unusual combinations of violet, green, ochre, indigo and fuchsia. The final climactic battle between Prince Philip and Maleficent in the form of a gigantic dragon remains one of the most beautiful and thrilling sequences ever animated. Disney movies might technically be made for kids, but let's be real, there's nothing better than sitting down with a bowl of popcorn and belting out Hakuna Matata on a Friday night. But there are so many that it's nearly impossible to pick just one. So what do you think about this list? Let us know in the comment below. Also check out one of these other videos and subscribe to World Top Record channel. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next videos.